Another big winter storm is coming to the United States later this week, and this is going to bring a ton of snowfall to areas like the southern plains, including Texas, back through the Dixie Alley and the Ohio Valley, and then eventually moving into the mid-Atlantic and the Northeast, where we could see several inches, maybe even in some cases over a foot of snowfall. In addition to that, we are tracking a big cold blast that will be impacting the United States over the next few days, which will bring some of the coldest weather of the entire winter thus far to parts of the country. So in today's forecast, we're going to break down exactly what you need to know about the weather that'll be impacting the United States over the next 7 days, and we'll begin with what's happening across the country this morning. And you'll notice we still have a huge winter storm happening right now back over in the mid-Atlantic and the Northeast. We currently have our low pressure center that is now moving through Kentucky and as well as Ohio. Overall, a lot of the snowfall is winding down this morning back over in the Midwest, but it's really ramping up right now back over in the Northeast and as well as back over in the mid-Atlantic, including Washington, D.C., and also back into southern Pennsylvania and New Jersey. And by the way, if you have any snow reports, feel free to comment those down below. I'm definitely curious to know how much snow you saw in your location, and feel free, if you have any photos, to send them in to me either on Twitter or Facebook. The links to those are in the description below. But overall, this will continue to track to the east and northeast over the next several hours, and eventually by tonight we're expecting the snowfall for the most part to wind down. There's also a small risk for severe weather today back over in Florida, Georgia, and Alabama, with some damaging winds and maybe an isolated tornado being possible. Behind this big storm, we have cold air that's ushering in across much of the country. Many areas this morning, including Texas and Oklahoma, are waking up to wind chills that are near 0 degrees, so it is very cold out there, and this will continue to persist here for the next couple of days before eventually we see our next big winter storm coming from an unfamiliar area, and we'll show you what that looks like here in just a moment. Now, I do have some good news for you. The blizzard warnings are officially over. We no longer have blizzard warnings in Kansas and Missouri after a disastrous day yesterday when it came to traveling. Lots of cars were sliding off the roadways and there was basically no visibility, but we still have winter storm warnings in effect across much of the mid-Atlantic and the Northeast, and also back through parts of the Ohio Valley, but these will progressively expire as we go throughout the day today or by tonight. Now, this winter storm is not over yet. We still have a ton of snow falling across areas like Washington, D.C., Northern Virginia, New Jersey, and as well as back through Delaware, Pennsylvania, Ohio, and it's also starting to wind down back over in Illinois and Indiana. A little bit of freezing rain and sleet still falling out there, but as we get closer to lunchtime today, we are expecting the heaviest of the snowfall to be moving offshore and away from Delaware. There will still be some light to moderate snowfall out there from Kentucky back into parts of southeastern New York. Areas like Long Island and Connecticut could see some flurries to light snowfall later today, and then eventually as we get closer to sunset tonight, there will be one more shot of light to moderate snowfall across the mid-Atlantic before eventually all of this is moving offshore as we eventually go into tonight. And in terms of additional snowfall out of this winter storm, we are expecting quite a bit back over in Maryland, Delaware, and as well as northern Virginia, and as well as parts of West Virginia, where upwards of 6 to 10 inches of snow is still to come. Back over in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Long Island, and Connecticut, again, you're going to be lucky to see much more than just flurries to a couple inches of snow. Not much will be happening there, and then maybe a couple more inches in Ohio before today's event is all said and done. And we also could see an additional little coating to a dusting or just some flurries back over in Tennessee and northern Mississippi and Alabama late tonight into early tomorrow morning, so something to keep a close eye out on there for, but overall not expecting any significant accumulation in those areas. Now, the weather's about to change a ton over the next few days, as right now we have this digging trough that continues to move across the Northeast, which is again leading to a big winter storm. But as we get closer to the middle of this week, that's when things really start to change. We're going to be seeing a huge dip in the jet stream, which is going to allow for a very strong northerly wind to come out of Canada, and that is going to allow for very cold weather to come into the United States, which will also lead to that cold air going as far south as areas like Texas and even back into areas like Louisiana and Arkansas. And this is what's going to set up the potential for a winter storm with several different forcing factors here. We have this big Arctic air mass that's going to be coming out of Canada. We're going to have moisture that's going to be coming out of the Pacific Ocean and moisture that's coming out of the Gulf of Mexico. This is all going to meet up on Thursday over in the southern plains, and this is going to lead to a relatively big winter storm. And a lot of the energy is going to be coming from this particular trough that'll be moving over California as we go into Tuesday and into Wednesday. This will eventually move into areas like Texas as we go into Thursday, and this is when we're expecting a big winter storm to form. Doesn't seem to be a big severe weather maker, but it does look like this will be producing several inches of snow in areas like Texas. So let's dive into the future radar and give you an idea of what this winter storm is going to look like, beginning with what's happening today into tomorrow. Again, the winter storm will be moving offshore as we go into tonight, and eventually by tomorrow tomorrow, there's barely going to be any rain or snow falling in any part of the United States tomorrow. Enjoy tomorrow. Should be a beautiful day for most of the country. As we go eventually into Wednesday morning, that is when the beginning of the moisture meetup will be happening over here in the southern plains. Cold air coming out of Canada, moisture coming out of the Pacific, and also moisture coming out of the Gulf of Mexico will begin the potential for some light snowfall and maybe a little bit of light sleet here across parts of Texas during the daytime on Wednesday. It really ramps up though as we go into late Wednesday night and into early Thursday morning, where moderate to heavy snowfall will become a big problem across parts of north and north central Texas. And then eventually as we go into Thursday morning and into the early afternoon, notice how this really starts to grow into a much larger storm system with heavy rainfall over in Louisiana and southeast Texas, some sleet and freezing rain being a possibility in East Texas and northern Louisiana and southern Arkansas, and then heavy snowfall becoming much bigger of a problem for those in Texas and as well as Oklahoma before that eventually shifts into areas like Arkansas as we go into Thursday night. Keep in mind that this snow is going to be sitting here in parts of north and north central Texas probably for almost 24 hours, which means that if you even see on and off snow, there will likely be several inches of snow if this scenario ends up verifying. As we get closer to Friday morning, heavy snowfall will be falling across Arkansas, maybe even Missouri again, Illinois, back through Kentucky and Tennessee. We could even see some snow or even some sleet back over in the northern half there of the Dixie Alley as we go into Friday afternoon. And then eventually as we go into Saturday, the GFS model does have this weakening temporarily, but eventually as it re-strengthening into a very strong low pressure system going towards the northeast and perhaps as something like a nor'easter. Now I do want to point out that we are pretty confident, I would give it about an 80% chance that we are going to see a pretty big winter storm here in the southern plains. Again, majority of the snow will probably fall in North Texas, Oklahoma, and Arkansas. Confidence does decrease quite a bit beyond that point. We don't exactly know what's going to happen from there. Could we see a big northeast winter storm? It's definitely possible, but also could it stay a little bit further offshore and could it be weaker? It's very possible. So our confidence right now with a nor'easter is like 30%. It's not really that high right now, so we can't put a whole lot of stock into that, but we do think that we're at least going to be talking about a multi-day winter storm event that will go across several different states. Now, snow accumulation is a tricky forecast as we are still about 4 days out from this happening. The GFS model is one of those models that is showing a full-blown winter storm in North Texas, indicating many areas between 5 to 10 inches of snowfall. This is again one of several models. Notice as we go further to the north and east, this winter storm will speed up and it will eventually only drop a few inches of snow across areas like Oklahoma, Arkansas, Tennessee, maybe even Mississippi as well. I do want to point out that even if we only see 2 to 4 inches of snow in Arkansas or Mississippi, this can cause some pretty big travel impacts. Many people are not prepared for this type of snowfall since it does not happen very often this far down to the south. So just keep that in mind. Obviously, anywhere near 5 to 10 inches of snow would cause chaos in North Texas, which I'm not saying we're going to see that much snow, but you know, you get the general idea here that that's obviously something that is not out of the books here at this point in terms of a forecast. Now, further to the east, back over on the East Coast, the GFS model does indicate as we go into Saturday, we could see some significant snowfall accumulation here in the mid-Atlantic region. It's too early to really to put an exact number though on what we would see, even if this scenario ends up verifying, because again, this trough could easily intensify or weaken as it moves towards the East Coast. We don't exactly know what's going to happen really, I would say, beyond Tennessee and Kentucky, but we do think there's at least still a chance here of seeing some snowfall and perhaps even a winter storm. Now, the second scenario is the European model, which is a bit less aggressive, but still shows quite a bit of snowfall here, even through Friday and into early Saturday. Notice how it still shows several inches of snow, perhaps even over 6 inches of snow across parts of Oklahoma and as well as Arkansas and Texas, and then much less snowfall as the system continues to move to the north and east through areas like the Ohio Valley and the Midwest. Again, it does not look to be a full-blown winter storm up here, but there will likely at least be some snowfall back over in areas like the Midwest. And then in terms of probabilities of at least seeing 1 inch of snowfall out of this winter storm, this is according to the European ensembles. They've actually gone ahead and shown over a 90% chance now of seeing greater than 1 inch of snowfall in southern Oklahoma and North Texas. It is very confident on seeing a winter storm down there. Chances do die down quite a bit as this moves to the east, but just notice the, again, magnitude and the size of where we might end up seeing at least 1 inch of snowfall. Obviously, this isn't winter storm criteria back over in Michigan and Indiana, but it's still, again, some snow here. And then as we go into Saturday and then eventually into Sunday, the probabilities are much lower on the East Coast, where we could, again, have a big-time winter storm. It's just too early to tell there back over in areas like the Mid-Atlantic. Now, in terms of seeing greater than 6 inches of snow out of this winter storm, the probabilities even down in Texas and Oklahoma are really not that low. I mean, we're talking talking 30, 40, 50% chance right now of seeing that much snowfall over a 24-hour period over here in Texas and as well as Oklahoma, according to the European Ensemble members, which I agree with. I think the chances are definitely on the rise right now. What I don't necessarily agree with is the drop-off in those percentages as we get closer to the East Coast. I do think, again, that we're going to have a chance of seeing greater than 6 inches of snowfall, especially back over in Virginia or Delaware or Maryland if this ends up ramping up again, but the European model not currently showing anything like that, not at least showing any probability for right now. But that could, again, change as we get closer, so make sure you're subscribed to the channel and we'll keep you posted with the latest on the probabilities here and also, in general, how much snow we'll be seeing out of this winter storm. Now, we are going to continue to see very frigid weather for much of the country over the next several days. We got a big shot of Arctic air that is already moving across the southern plains and the East Coast, and we got another one ramping up here back over in the northern plains, and this one is expected to bring our coldest weather of the season thus far to areas like the Ohio Valley and as well as the lower Midwest. We are expecting some areas to be below zero for low temperatures as we go into both Wednesday and Thursday morning. Cold air will build up on the East Coast and in the southern plains on both Thursday and Friday, which is again going to allow for this winter storm to really ramp up. And then eventually, as we go into Saturday and eventually into Sunday, that cold air will eventually move towards the East Coast before eventually into next week. The cold air is probably going to continue for much of the country. Again, all of this indicating below average temperatures, and it looks like we are not going to be done anytime soon with below average temperatures in the United States. And this is how cold the temperatures will be on Wednesday morning. Again, notice how there will be many areas below 0 degrees for an actual temperature in the Ohio Valley and even back into areas like Kansas and Missouri. So make sure you're prepared for this. Make sure you have a winter jacket ready to go. It is about to get very cold here across both the Ohio Valley, the Midwest, and as well as back through the Central Plains. And as always, thank you all so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you're new here. We're gonna have daily updates talking about this winter storm in detail, so you don't want to miss those. Make sure you click the bell icon so you're notified when we have those new video updates. In addition to that, for a limited time, we do have our 750,000 subscriber merch out at shopmaxvelocity.net. A phenomenal design as well. You can check this out again with the top link in the description below. We also have a trucker hat and also, after high demand, a classic dad hat available for this particular collection. This will again be out for a couple of weeks, so if you want to check it out, it is the top link in the description below or shopmaxvelocity.net.